Hey guys, today's the day we're going to be starting on that Sinagua jar. I'm super excited to get started with this. So let's go over the tools that I'm going to be using for this project today. I'm only using a few tools for this project. Nothing too fancy, just real simple. I've got here a couple of cooking utensils that I've modified for my paddles. I've got here a few anvils to use. I've got here my knife that I'm going to use to cut. And I've got a few polishing stones. Nothing too crazy this time. And I've got my specialty tool right here, a good old Pookie. This isn't quite the kind that I need, but we're gonna make it work. And of course, we can't forget the backbone of this project, the clay. I've already gone through and processed this. I've added that feldspar temper that I found recently on that last video when I was hunting for some good temper. It really fired to a good color in that test firing that I did to test out the clay. So I got my fingers crossed on this stuff. But we'll see, anything can happen. As always, when making these kind of replicas, I like to consult with the masters, or at least the legacies that they left behind. Luckily, I have a few sherds that I collected many years ago that'll help me try to understand the style and technique a little bit better. Oh, you can see this amazing piece of Verde redware right here. This is absolutely beautiful. Look at that burnished shine. It just stands as a test of time. Isn't that amazing? And then on the inside, it's a little bit smudged, but you can definitely tell in the middle, it uses some brown clay. So we're trying to replicate that. I have here a couple samples of a Gila shoulder in these sherds, and I believe that's going to be my greatest challenge for this project, replicating that. It has such a beautiful angle to it, very hard, and I believe it's going to be a wonderful challenge. But here you can see some of the pieces I've got. Isn't that beautiful? The insides aren't really too well taken care of, but boy, they really got the outsides looking wonderful, didn't they? Here's a really worn down piece to look at as well. These are great to study. Just look at all the temper that was used in them too. Isn't that incredible? And of course, the last piece I've got here is the rim that we're going to be trying to replicate. Has a nice square with a bit of a rounded shape to it. As always, when doing any kind of replica, it's always good to have a set of blueprints to go by. I wound up drawing these blueprints up. This is just a guideline for me to follow along with and hope that my skills can get me somewhere in the ballpark when it comes to making this crazy thing. But that's where I love the challenge in this. In my illustration, you can really see a good example of the Gila shoulder that I was talking about in those pottery sherds earlier. Look at that beautiful angle right there. Isn't that amazing? This thing's got a really nice neck to it and a really curved bottom. Unfortunately, I don't have a Pookie that even comes close to this shape. But I'm going to be using this one I made for my ho-ho-calm jar, and we're going to try and do the best we can to get a little bit close to that shape that I'm aiming for. So we'll see what happens. So with that all out of the way, it's time to get started on this project. I'm an expert by no means, guys, so I'm just going to keep pretty quiet as I go through all the steps I go to make this jar. Let's see what happens. Oh, I almost forgot to mention in the tools, you're going to need some kind of water bowl. You definitely need a lot of water when it comes to pottery making. Oh boy, this is one big coil. I think we're gonna have to do a little bit of improvising and push this out just a bit, but I think this might work. I hope. Let's start to angle this inward. Can't quite do this with the anvils yet, though. Where was that? There you are. Oh man, this thing is a monster. Wow. But we're about halfway done. That's one good thing. Oh, time to add on another coil. So we're on day 2 now. This oil has been drying overnight, getting a little bit leather hard, and we're ready to start burnishing it up a little bit. I'm not gonna go too crazy with the shine, but we're gonna get it nice and shiny so at least it's smooth when it's fired. Oh, just look at this though. This is beautiful. When I first saw it at the museum, it reminded me of a UFO, and boy, it just zipping around there. This is pretty cool. I like it. Unfortunately, as you can see, I did not have that pookie that I needed. The only complaint I have is it should be a little bit deeper, but gotta make do with what you gotta do, right? This is looking pretty good. So we're ready to move on to that burnishing step. So I've got right here my primary polishing tools, just these 2 rocks. You can tell it doesn't have a super shine to it. It's just a regular rock. I didn't even tumble this one. I actually found this one at a river. This one too. It's really good for getting into those rims, those nice little nooks and crannies. So these are my 2 superstars right here. So this process is pretty easy. Since I've got nice leathery hard clay, I really don't need to use any water. I can actually start going right to town on this. And just taking your stone and rubbing it on like so. And you can see how some of that temper is wanting to pop its way out as the clay starts to shrink. It tries to eject out the temper. Sometimes that can be a bit of a problem. And this is the step when you want to make sure that's all pressed back in nice and good. You don't really get this problem if you're using a really fine-grained temper like volcanic ash or something, but the Sinagua definitely piled it down with the feldspar temper.
And that's what we did here. So you just want to take your time. This is always a good way to just relax and enjoy the hobby. It can be a little bit time consuming. You can already see that is getting really nice and smooth. All those imperfections are going out. Again, we're not looking for a super glossed look, but we do want it to be nice and shiny and just smooth all around. This is going to be, oh, if this dries well, it's going to be pretty beautiful. I've got this other little stone here, and that's really good for getting in these little tight areas here, or like around the rim. It's a good spot here too. Get all those neat little angles. This is a good universal little guy here. He always puts in overtime at the office. Normally this is all I use, but since I've got a big pot, I find this smoothing stone to be just more efficient overall, getting the wider body of this whole thing. Yeah, that's looking pretty good right there. I like that nice waxy feel to it right now. Very smooth. The next step, I'm gonna let this thing fully dry. It's gonna take a couple days. It's been weird weather here in Arizona. Usually this doesn't take long to dry at all, but well, it's gonna take a couple days. So we'll come back and hopefully this thing dries without any cracking or complications. I got my fingers crossed on this. This would be nice if this dries successfully. That's half the battle right there. Well, it's been a few days of this thing drying, and it looks like it is pretty dried out now. This looks great. Oh man. I don't see any visible cracking on it or any defects that might hinder the progress. So I think it's pretty safe to say we're ready to move on to the next step. That next step is going to be going out into the wild and firing this thing. I really hope you guys learned something from this video, and I really hope to see you in the next video when I go about firing this thing. All right, my friends, till next time.